All right, guys, we are back with Andrew Barton. He's going to fill us in more on AirMatch. And again, he hovers over the whole ACCA thing and why they're not ACCA-approved on their load calc side, which is Laser Calc. And it's for good reason. And it's benchmarked. It works. Load calculations have been done for many, many years, and they follow the same standards. So part 2 coming up with Andrew Barton from AirMatch. This is the HVAC Know-It-All podcast. I'm your host, Gary McCready. Top contractors across the U.S. only. This one's going to be pretty cool to expand your marketing reach. Property.com is an exclusive network for certified pros. You can get your own custom Property.com webpage for free. You can also get AI-powered reputation management and get some great lead generation and prospecting tools. The Know Before You Go tool is pretty cool. It gives critical homeowner data like how much they've paid on past jobs. Join Property.com's exclusive network now to expand your reach with homeowners across the U.S. Use McCready.property.com, so that's MCCREADIE, property.com, to fill out the form to get approved. You're adding in what most contractors or salespeople that go to a home are not doing. You're running it through your Laser Calc by room load calculation. Most contractors are not doing this, as far as I know anyway. Some are doing block load. At least it's something. But how long would the process take if you're going to create a visit to a home after a technician says, hey, listen, this unit needs to be replaced. Hopefully the sale is ethical. Someone shows up. We're going to measure room by room. We're going to enter all those figures into the Laser Calc, and then we're going to pull all our machine from our AHR data and the sizing that the load calc tells us. How long does the process take from start to finish usually?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a typical house room by room load calculation, depending on how chatty you're going to be with the customer and talking about it. If you're just knocking it out, it's going to take you 15 to 20 minutes. If you're going to talk with the customer, it's going to take you 20 to 30 minutes. That's the longest part of it, really.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's really valuable in terms of discovery, but I agree with you that most people are not doing that. And we know that's true even in our software. Maybe half are doing that. And then designing the system literally takes minutes, because from selecting the components, if you know what you want, you can build a system in 5 minutes. I would say what's probably typical, because you're also going to talk to the customer about financing options and other things. And, if you're in some market where you want a steam humidifier, and another part, it's, UV lights or zoning or what have you, there's lots of options to talk about. I would say, if I was thinking about it as a salesperson, I'm going to expect to go there and spend, 45 minutes to an hour with a customer. The actual process of building that proposal, it can be done in 5 minutes. But I think the engagement with the customer and talking to them and finding out what's important to them, because again, I mean, the data supports that, and not specifically in HVAC, but just in consumer behavior, that consumers are more likely to buy customized options, and they generally spend more money because it's built to what they actually want.
Yes. And the load calculation is going to tell them that's what they need, because I don't know how many times you get a call from a customer and they're like, yeah, actually it was just this past summer. Some guy calls me up. He's like, I need a 3-ton AC tomorrow. And I'm like, tomorrow? I said, and how do you know you need a 3-ton AC? He goes, well, my house is 3,000 square feet. And I said, it doesn't really work like that, but good luck finding someone for tomorrow. Anyway,
you could be right, but who knows?
Yeah.
I think that's the way I would look at it. We make it really easy also to create multiple proposals, options, to duplicate one and adjust items on there. But I think that I'm 100% for what you're saying in terms of being ethical with people. I don't think it's not a trick. Now I understand what you need. Let me show you how to get those options. And to solve that problem, whether it's efficiency or comfort, you might be adding a duct run to it. We have an easy way to build that into it. I'm going to add, another return. They're concerned about indoor air quality, so I'm going to add a high-end air filter or media air cleaner and UV light. They're concerned about humidity levels in the winter, and I'm going to do steam humidification. I think that's where you're really going to spend the time, is walking them through the options and saying, based on what you've told me, based on my expertise, this is the system I would recommend for you. And then if they're looking at that and say, well, geez, do you have anything that's less expensive? Well, you probably have multiple options. Maybe you downgrade to the builder grade thing, but the indoor air quality is still really important to them, but they don't want to spend as much on the equipment. In literally minutes, you can duplicate a system and make adjustments to it, actually in seconds, and then show them another option. Or maybe they say, well, I want to replace my unitary system, but we have this room over the garage that's just, it's never the right temperature and it wasn't finished when we were first here. And maybe ductless is the right application and you want to offer ductless as well. Or maybe you want to propose the major repair that they need and show them right alongside it what a replacement system would cost. To me, it's really about not only from the system itself or the repair solution or the installation solution that solves the customer's problem. It's also about how do they get to do that? Do they want to pay cash or do they want to finance? Do they want to finance over long term, short term, same as cash? And to me, I think that that's where this tool makes it really easy to go through, to change financing plans, to show them what the different prices would be, and find a way to help the customer make a buying decision.
All right. Now, I'd like to tackle the LaserCalc mobile because I think that could be a technician's or not just a technician, but people like me who are I'm a one-man show. My one-man show is my side hustle now because this HVAC know-it-all gig has taken over my life. So anyway, but for guys like me that go to a home, the AC, it needs a new one, it needs a new furnace, whatever it might be, there's so much oversized equipment out there. It's crazy the amount of oversized equipment that you see. Having a block load app on my phone where I could be like, okay, measure some things in the home, input some things, and spit out an actual load calc. That would be super valuable for not just for people like me, but anybody that's in the trade that is trying to figure out what size of equipment to put in. So can you just walk us through how the app works and the load calc input, like what needs to be done? Measurement of the outside of the house, the height, the windows, the doors, stuff like that.
LaserCalc Mobile, the block load version, came out of basically it's just an altered version of what we have in the main software. And, as I've mentioned, we're believers in doing a load calculation. We've had it in our software for probably 15, 20 years. And one of the things we noticed was that probably about 40% of our customers that were doing load calculations were putting all of the data into a single field. So they were taking the first room and putting all the square footage, putting all the ceiling space. So they were basically doing a block load. And we had this idea. It's like, well, if you put it all in one place, then you're assuming all the ceiling square footage is exposed and some other issues. And so we wanted to think, well, can we create a simplified version of this? And this is when we were first looking at mobile applications several years ago. And we thought, well, let's roll this out separately as a load calc. Just does that. Block load seems suited to that. It's not a lot of screen real estate, but you go through and you enter the square footage, and we have a lot of tips in there as you go through it on how to do it effectively. I think a room by room is always going to be more accurate, but it gets pretty close. We did a lot of testing to see how close was it to room by room. So you put in your square footage. You're going to select your construction type. Of course, you're going to select your design city. What's the closest city to where you are so we can get the relevant weather data. And then you're going to pick your construction, is it, a stucco? Is it a block or brick building and so forth? What's the floor type? What are the insulation values? Does it have a lot of windows or less windows? Is it 2-story or single story? So we tried to simplify the normal things you would go through in a more detailed load calculation.
Yeah.
So that really in probably a couple of minutes, if you've got all the data, it'll take probably a minute to get a load calculation that I think is pretty close to what you're going to do in room by room. It doesn't give you room by room data, of course, but it's definitely going to tell you, if you're way off on a system.
Yeah. So what does that cost? Did you say?
LaserCalc Mobile is $9.99 a month.
That's not bad. If you're doing 2, 3 systems, 4 systems, even if you're doing 5, which is not a lot for a busy installer, like it's still worth the money because you can show that to your customer as well. And that sets you apart from the other guy that came in and is just swapping boxes, right? You're adding value to your service right there. That's very cool.
Yeah, it still gives you a complete report, with your sensible and all the other load details. But it's just in a smaller format. You can, of course, email it, text it, or do that. It just doesn't have the room by room breakdown.
Yeah, okay. Generally, that's what I've done in the past when I've done these heat pump projects is just a block load, and it's worked out fairly well. So that being said, let's get to the ACCA thing. So when I first posted about LaserCalc, and it wasn't LaserCalc Mobile, it was just LaserCalc in general that I was talking about on LinkedIn, there was some people that were debating on the ACCA thing. ACCA is the standard. Is it ACCA approved? Is it not? And
Right.
all of this. So just give us the rundown and the straight
Right.
truth of what it is.
Sure. This comes up from time to time. Look, a lot of respect for ACCA. When I was part of the HVAC distribution trade organization, I, worked with people at ACCA and respect the work that they do. If you look at, so our load calculation is based on ACCA's publication Manual J for residential load calculation design, which, I think is a common tool for people to use in load calculation. You probably find most of them are based on that are out there. And ACCA did a great job of taking, I mean, they didn't go and do the building science work and understand what insulation values do in a building and infiltration and that kind of stuff. I mean, that work was done by, ASHRAE and Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And, there've been load calculations out for, since the early 1900s. I think ASHRAE really did the heavy lifting in terms of putting something together, but they were focused on commercial. And then ACCA did a great job of saying, hey, how do we modify this for residential applications? And then they have their Manual J for residential load calculation. I think you probably find most of the load calculation softwares out there based on ACCA's Manual J. So, and they've done, I think, great work in that department. They aren't a government agency or a regulatory agency. They're a trade association, that represents contractors, and I'm sure they do great work for their customers. And they also have to make money. So, what part of their business is selling an ACCA-approved for a load calculation software. And I think it's great for them and anybody who wants to do that. But it's being ACCA-approved is a marketing decision, not a quality decision. Yeah, they're going to ask you to do some load calculations and test your software to make sure it works. We've been doing load calculation for a long time. We've gone over the data. We benchmarked it against doing, work directly out of Manual J against other softwares. It's been, I don't even know how many load calculations across the country have been done through our software at this point. So we don't have an issue with accuracy. We know that, but, to pay $17,000 to $20,000 in a percentage of our sales to get an approval, which is really a marketing decision, we didn't think really added value to our software. There's no requirement that a load calculation software be ACCA approved. When you look at the codes, at least in the United States, most of them are driven by, the international bill, IBC, IRC, there's International Residential Code. And when you read that requirement, it says for a load calculation, and, not everybody's pulling a permit and not everybody's doing a load calculation in the beginning. I believe they should, but it says the requirement is ACCA Manual J, ASHRAE, or other approved load calculation. And I know our reports have been used and approved by utilities and other municipalities and other jurisdictions around the country. But if somebody wants we've never claimed to be ACCA approved. People want to do that and they want an ACCA approved software that somebody's, paid for that and done that, then great. That's available and in the market. We just thought it adds cost and doesn't add value. But, all respect to ACCA and what they do. But, I think sometimes people confuse, and maybe it comes from when people have inspectors come to a job and inspectors are asked to know a lot of things about a building. And probably they see the first line and see ACCA and say, well, I need an ACCA, Manual J load calculation. Well, you're getting that from our software. It's just not on the ACCA approved list because from a marketing standpoint, we didn't see it as adding value.
No, that's fair. I mean, it's 100% fair. And I mean, it's a business decision that you have to make. And if the business decision is to leave that approval out because of the costs associated with it, then so be it, as long as it works. But like you said, we've been doing load calcs since,
Yeah.
God knows when. So,
and if somebody wants to, we have a free trial. If you're not sure, try it out, benchmark it against your software, see what you think.
I had mentioned, somebody on LinkedIn had asked me, I said, why don't you try it on your next job and see what the results are? And I got a laughing emoji as the response. So I didn't know if that meant he wasn't going to, or if it was a funny comment, or I didn't know what it meant. Because sometimes when you're on social media, you don't really understand how the other person's coming at you until you get the full story.
Yeah, it can be hard to judge. It's there for free for people to try out and give it a shot. See what you think. If it's not for you, that's fine. There's other tools out there.
I would like to try it on my own house because I know for a fact my AC and my furnace is oversized. I'd like to see what it spits out for my own house. So I may
Yeah.
try it just for that and see what it spits out and be like, I think we're onto something here. So I'm excited actually to do that when I have some time. So is there anything else when it comes to putting together systems using AirMatch or LaserCalc or anything like that that you want to throw in here that you feel is important, that could be a value statement towards your customers or their customers?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I kind of went over how you design a system and, there's a lot of details in there in terms of how it can be done. But I really think that what our experience has been working with our customers, and there's lots of tools out there that will allow you to create a proposal quickly for a customer. But however people get there, and, look, the way we look at it is, we want to help our customers succeed, sell more because they're solving problems for the customers, making more money so they can invest and build the business they've always wanted to build. So if that ends up being another tool, by all means, that's great. I want you to do what works for you. But I think that the thing that we try to drive home, and is maybe a hard message to get across, is how much more of an impact customizing that system, rather than, I see lots of digital tools that are just basically a flat rate price book that are made digital. And I think that works fine for parts and service. You're going to replace a capacitor, fan motor, and we have that built into our system if you want to do that. But I think for the system replacement, where people are talking about, probably spending at a minimum $10,000 anymore, maybe $25,000, maybe $30,000, that customized system on the spot where the customer is really connected with the problem you're solving and how that system is going to solve the problem, and then customizing the payment solution, because probably 80% or more of these systems are financed. So we built in, a direct link so you can get financing approval directly in the app. You can swap between, various programs, if you use a different program, we can load that in, but we really make it easy to stay engaged with the customer and getting to that point. Like, this is the system I really want because it solves my problem. This is the financing solution for me. And you're really, I think, changing the way that works in a way that leads to more sales, higher close rate, and selling for more while doing a positive thing for your customer. And I mean, that's really what it's all about. I mean, that's the way we look at our business. We'll make money if we create value for our customers. And so we're trying to create a tool that our customers can create value for their customers. So they're going to make money, be profitable, and grow their business.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time today, Andrew. This was fun to talk to you and get to understand AirMatch, because when I first talked to you guys about it, and I was on the phone just having the conversation just to figure out what it was, I was having a hard time wrapping my head around what it was. Then when I watched the video on YouTube going through building a system and getting your feedback here, I'm starting to really understand it, starting to click onto what it actually is and what it can do for Contractor. This mobile app thing, I think that could be a hit for a lot of people. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, no, I think the LaserCalc mobile is a great tool. And of course, AirMatch is available on that platform as a full software suite as well. But again, I just reinforced that our goal is to help our customers succeed and grow. And if we're the right tool for them to do that, awesome. If there's another one out there, then I just encourage them to take advantage of whatever's going to help them drive growth.
For sure. Cool. Yeah, you got to be comfortable with what you're using, right? So I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.